Vandawana. Today's theme is as follows: rejection of Emerson Mnangagwa's 2030 life presidency agenda intensifies in Zimbabwe. As has been already alluded to by the chair, this is a follow-up to the presser we held here on the 15th of January 2025. It's important to throw some underlying importance to the current theme. The theme is the rejection of Emerson Mnangagwa's 2030 life presidency agenda intensifies in Zimbabwe. And I underline, intensifies in Zimbabwe. That is the theme of today's presser. Welcome to you all once more, members of the Fourth Estate, to this important press conference following the one that we held on the 15th of January at this same venue. The NDWG stands hand in glove with all the progressive forces calling for immediate transformational change in Zimbabwe. As you now all know, the legitimate activities of the National Democratic Working Group were banned by Emerson Mnangagwa's dictatorial and illegitimate regime on 8 February 2025 in Mutare. That activity was banned. That is the importance of that statement there. The illegitimate ZANU-PF regime's ZRP riot police invaded and disrupted our peaceful leadership private meeting in Penalonga, Mutare, and arrested 41 executive members of our organization who were attending the NDWG meeting at Beats of the Forest Resort. We were exposed to torture, inhuman and degrading treatment before we were thrown into holding cells at the Penalonga Police Station and later transferred to Mutare General Police Station. Throughout, what one could describe really as inhuman torture, inhuman ill treatment. We were exposed to torrential rains on the back of the illegitimate regime's police open trucks. This was my first experience, really, to see human beings being ferried in open trucks in heavy rainfall, loaded worse than even any commodity, because commodities are cared for. We were not cared for by those who had captured us. Let us warn Emerson Mnangagwa's illegitimate ZANU-PF regime that we will not succumb to its arm-twisting dictatorial tactics to silence us. This has actually strengthened our inclusive movement to make the bold declarations that we are going to pronounce today, here, now. After the vicious military attack on our meeting in Mutare on Saturday, 8 February 2025, the National Democratic Working Group reconvened on the disrupted meeting on Sunday, 16 February 2025, through the cyberspace and resolved the following. that in light of our press statement dated 15 January 2025, calling for resistance and rejection to the Mnangagwa crusade to extend his presidential term of office to 2030 and beyond, we welcome the support of our position, which has been endorsed by the progressive war veterans led by comrades Blessed Bombshell Geza and Knox Chiwero. The messages being spelled out by both Geza and Chiwero resonate with the National Democratic Working Group's position from the onset. We stand firm in mutual solidarity with each other, and we reassure them that we stand together high and low in this people's democratic struggle. The position is amplified by comrades Geza and Chiwero is the position of the masses of our people who are eager to see the completion of the mass democratic revolution in Zimbabwe. The revolution is upon us, fellow compatriots. We urge all churches, students, civil society organizations, workers of our nation, and the downtrodden masses of our people to stand firm in support of our position and that of the progressive war veterans of the armed liberation struggle. Truly, the armed liberation struggle was a people's struggle, to struggle for justice, emancipation, and also democratic values. The time is now or never. Freedom of our people is at the core of our struggle. This is a non-negotiable position that we cannot trade with anything. We deserve better than the 2030 nonsense as a nation. The time is now. Let us come together and complete the mass democratic revolution in Zimbabwe for the permanent good of our nation. I thank you.
The first thing that I want to remind the people of Zimbabwe, if you are a leader, you are not supposed to be seen indicating left when you are turning right. To be frank and honest, if Mnangagwa was really meaning his words that he's going to leave the office at the end of his term, then definitely there was no reason why he could allow the other section of his organization, the ZANU-PF members, the other faction, to be seriously continuing talking about the 2030 mantra. So we are not kids, we are not young to be told that he, as he's explained that he's a constitutionalist, he is going to abide by the Constitution. And now we are very well informed that this constitutionalism he's talking about, he is now trying to untwist the Constitution so that the 2030 mantra will be now put into the Constitution, then it will make him go through the amended Constitution. So we are not at any time accepting what he has said, because he's trying to play around with our minds as if we also as citizens do not think. So I just need to say, as citizens, our position still stays that he must go, either sooner or at the end of his term. Not anything, not any time beyond after that. So our position is he must go.
Before I touch on that one, I simply need also to polish or clarify what CNO Mugari has already said. What concerns us as National Democratic Working Group and the people of Zimbabwe are utterances and actions of public government officials, starting with Emerson Mnangagwa as the person who occupies the post of president in this country. So the utterances by fellow MPs and ministers, cabinet ministers, and the government officials throughout is what this nation is talking about. The quarreling that may take place in the ZANU-PF political camp as a separate legal entity, separate from the government structure, is none of our business. And I'm sure in the nation it's none of their business, because ZANU-PF is a separate legal entity from government of Zimbabwe. It is the implications of the utterances and the actions by public officials that worry Zimbabweans. And that is the clarification I needed to add to what Engineer Mugari has said. On to the second question relating to the, as expressed by the war veterans led by Geza and Ranox Chiwero, it is clear that the journey to establish democracy in Zimbabwe still continues 45 years after the 1980 independence declaration. So that was a verbal declaration, and the implementation of that declaration is still on course. It's actually intensifying. This is why the progressive war veterans represented by Geza and Vachuero, as you may have seen from the media, they were not only two, there were many, representing progressive liberation fighters from both the Zipra and the Zanla armies during the liberation struggle. So through this presser, we have conveyed huge messages of solidarity to the progressive war veterans. We have now national and local government levels. And this is why the whole nation went to war with the colonial regimes that were based on skin color and based on minority interests. I had to be more elaborate there, Moyo, because we needed to be very clear on that. So we have a constructive alliance, therefore. Don't forget that on 15 January 2025, the National Democratic Working Group, representing Zimbabweans in this country, expressed the ideas that this is not the intention of Zimbabweans to fold their hands when there is someone or some group plan all citizens of Zimbabweans, wherever they are. What we are seeing is that we have a constitutional document in place. It's a constitutional document representing some constitutional values of our people. I've said some because the document itself does not represent the entirety of the values of Zimbabweans because of the manner in which it came about. The 2013 Amendment Act, 20th Amendment Act of 2013. That document is the one I think you are suggesting that is being manipulated. And how do Zimbabweans safeguard themselves against this manipulation that may bring chaos, anarchy, disorder and to the extent of bringing war in Zimbabwe, because this abuse is serious. As National Democratic Working Group, we are already acting to safeguard good constitutional principles. Good constitutional principles that are now in the minds and the hearts of citizens of this country. The term limitations in this document called the Constitution of Zimbabwe, Amendment number 20, Act of 2013, is a value that truly was inspired by the citizens of this country. That they didn't want a one-party rule, they didn't want one-man rule, they didn't want one-person rule, because such types of rulership are not democratic. The democratic system of government is one which cannot continue to worsen the situation of poverty and economic destitution that characterizes our daily affair. Like you see the other time when we were in Mutari, we were very peaceful and we were invaded militarily. Why would you use arms of war to citizens who are doing their business like we are doing here, peacefully, engaging in the process of thinking of new ideas, new strategies to ensure that we have better life in our community, here on earth, in our generation? Why would you deploy arms of war? Arrest, disrupt, torture? No. So the National Democratic Working Group is already defending the constitutional value of Zimbabweans. That term limitations have to be defended. You get it throughout the whole world, even in private companies. People never work for as long as 45 years in one position. Where have you ever seen that? Humans are limited in terms of their capacities. So the rotational processes and term limitations are by nature very democratic. Even in our own African culture, we have Ushemadzoro Hunoravanwa. It is a misrepresentation for some to say, hey, you can't remove a leader before another one, comes, or something like that. That is big nonsense. That is big nonsense. The issue is a human being is not like the sun. By the way, we have one sun. Sun, S-U-N. So this parading of ideas to say if a constitutional write-up does not have what we require, like what we heard Mahia the other time saying, we will tear apart that constitution. This is the most uninformed statement. To start with, the constitution is an intangible thing. It is the value, the understanding that citizens share. The document in which we enshrine such value is called a constitutional document. But you should know that a document itself is not the constitution. It is what is reposed in it, what should represent the constitution. So someone who thinks that if what I want cannot be obtained from a constitutional document, then I'll simply tear it down and then that's over. No, that's chaos, anarchy, and a high level of disorder. So the National Democratic Working Group shall defend progressive constitutional value and progressive constitutional order.
Yeah, it's like the issue of defending our constitution as a nation. As NDWG, we have already started, and we have already started. Yeah, I think as NDWG, we have already started working on this issue of defending our constitution. Because it's like akusikutanga kuti Zimbabwe inomanipulate, in fact ZANU-PF inomanipulate constitution. But at the same time, pane pamwe pataimbotarisa zvichiitika tichitarisa zvichiitika, but for now I don't think that as a nation we can fold our hands tichitarisa vachiita zvavari kuita, because in this constitution pane pavaiti vanhu vanofanira vanhu vari kudiaspora, every person have a right to vote, but takaona vamunangagwa vachidzivisa even vanhu vari kudiaspora kuti vavote. We have over 2 to 3 million vanhu vari kugara outside the country, and at the same time if we look at what was the reason for our comrades to sacrifice themselves to liberate this country, the issue was all about what we want independence. Then when we get independence, we were expecting to like kubereka zvinhu zvitatu zvinoti development, peace, then in a unity. Then after that, after we get independence, kuti tive ne-development muno munyika takaishewa, of which we're looking on issues like political development, social development and economical development. Hapana zvinhu zvakakwanisa kuachivwa neZANU-PF. Then tadaro tikatarisa panyaya yeunity, even peace yachona, we have so many diasporans vari kugara outside the country. Unity tirikuti isusu unity begins even at home. Kudzimba amen ari kugara kuAustralia aine mukadzi ari muno muZimbabwe, vakatotiza mabasa muno mukuti hamuna mabasa, then they go kunana diaspora kunotsvaga mabasa. At the same time vanhu ivavo vanosangana nemaproblems akawandisa mudzimba dzavanenge vachigara because of distance. Saka munyika medu makatanga kuva nemaproblems akaita sana macases ana DVA akasimuka zvekuti munyika hamusisina peace. Beside that, peace yachona, even if you want like izvozvo mudzimai anogara kumba murume wake anohura 120, uchisvika kumba murume abva kubasa pay yachona hana kupiwa, anosvika udzwa kunzi hamuna chikafu mumba, hamuna chakati, mumba mukava musupreme court, hamuna mufaro, dzimba dzinoparara. So as a nation, this is not an issue inoda kutarisa zvakanyanya kuti ini ndiri munhu akaita sei kana ndiri munhu akaita sei. Ini zvinhu zviri kutariswa nevana veZimbabwe kuti according to the leadership yavamunangagwa ndezvipi zvavakadeliver zvinokwanisa kutibatsira isu semaZimbabwe. So we are saying hatisi kuzotarisa vamunangagwa vachiti izvona vari kuda kunoextenda kusvika muna 2030 pavakatombopinda pacho chii chavakaachiva chavakaita. Isusu we believe kuti Mugabe himself ane maprojects aakatotanga aakasiyira munzira only because he himself Mnangagwa said Mugabe wakundikana nezvinoti. And isusu we expecting kuti as long as iye ati Mugabe akundikana iye achaita zvinobatika, but it's like we are saying kuti the difference is the same, otherwise Mugabe was a better moron or a better lunatic than this one. So isusu what we are saying today, we are saying isusu vamunangagwa vakakundikana vakatikonewera. In fact vanhu vachienda kuhondo, we believe kuti vanhu vachienda kuhondo vane agreement yavanganga vainayo, but isusu taramba vanhu vanotora mukana sekodzero kuti wanzitungamira vanhu, wobva waona sekuti wava nekodzero yekumanipulata kumbiro rakagadzirwa nevanhu vachiti tinoda zvino senyika, iwobva wati ini ndinoda chakati. Saka isusu tiri kungoti vamunangagwa ende vanga vari munhu anonzwisisa, vakurumidza vati respecta, because hatina nguva yakanyanya yekuti tigone kutendekana, hatina nguva yakanyanya yekuti tigone kuramba tichikwesherana navo, but isu tiri kungoti kana vari munhu anonzwisisa vachizvinzwisisa kuti vakatadza kudeliver mishonga muzvipatara, vakatadza kudeliver mufaro even happiness kwatiri semadzimai, even varume kana madzimai. Mudzimai anofara kana achiona murume wake achisvika mumba akabata something, but ukaona murume wako achisvika mumba achitadza kubata maputi, you feel like handina kuroorwa kana kuti pane zviri kuitika. So isusu tiri kuti our happiness panguva yatiri kurarama iyoyi semaZimbabweans tinoda kumbofarawo, taneta nekuchema. We don't think kuti 2030 inosvika tiri right. The atmosphere is not favorable. This man has failed and it is the right time for him to step down vofuda zvavo zviri peaceful. If possible tinokwanisa kutsvaga umwe munhu anokwanisa kutitungamirira, otherwise kuti matemperatures ambova moderate for us as Zimbabweans. So as NGWG we are ready for him and we have already planned kuti tichaita so. And I don't think it's right time for us to expose everything zvatakaronga nezvatakagadzirira, but garai makateerera nguva ichikwana kana vachinge varamba vachiita navo tichashandisa zvechisimba when the atmosphere kana kuti when the situation isingadi peace